Here are the solutions to the 3 short answer questions from Friday's homework. Question 27, graphing a log. We've done this on another homework now. Even though it does not ask for it, the one thing that I would always find with any log graph is the asymptote. And remember, this is where the first error message is on the table on your calculator. So I would go to my calculator, go to y equals, type in the log, alpha window, choice 5 is the log base, and do log base 2 of x plus 6. Go to my table, and you should see that your first error message is at -6. That means that wherever the -6 is, there should be an asymptote, which is the imaginary line that you are not allowed to cross over. So even though it doesn't ask for it, I would put it in if I were you. From there, I would just plot some of the points from my calculator. It doesn't say that you have to include any of, oops, that point was wrong. It doesn't mean that you have to include any specific points. I would just make sure that I'm getting some on there. If they asked for specific points, like your intercepts, you would want to make sure your x and y intercept are there. Remember, this is the one graph the calculator cannot do completely correct because it looks like it starts out of nowhere. So it is up to you to know that it does go down forever, and we should put an arrow on both sides of the graph. So there is my log graph. That was a 2-point question. Question 28. Given tan theta equals 7/24 and theta terminates in quadrant 3, determine the value of cosine. We did a trig question on one of the homeworks from last week where we said if they're not telling you to use a specific formula, it means you are going to be drawing a triangle and using SOHCAHTOA. This is telling us that we are in quadrant 3. Your 4 quadrants, remember, form what looks like a bow tie with their triangles. So we are going with the triangle that's in quadrant 3. Your theta is always closest to the origin. Your hypotenuse is across from the right angle. Opposite side is across from that reference angle theta. And the adjacent side is the one that's left over. So we are going to be using SOHCAHTOA. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the opposite side is 7, the adjacent side is 24. To find the missing side, we always use Pythagorean theorem. Hypotenuse has to be the C, so since that's the side I'm looking for, that can be my X, which means the 7 and the 24 are the A and the B. So 7 squared is 49, 24 squared is 576. Adding together, we get 625. Taking the square root, we get that the missing side, the hypotenuse, is 25. So now if we want cosine, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. We get 24 over 25. And the last thing we're going to always do in every trig question is ASTC. Since this is the third quadrant where tangent is positive, our cosine answer has to be negative. So we should be getting negative 24 over 25. Last question, 35. This was a 4-point question. Determine an equation for the parabola with a focus at 4, -1 and a directrix at y equals 5, -5. So I'm going to draw this on my graph. Every time it's a focus and directrix question, we want to graph it. We have our focus at 4, -1, and our directrix is at y equals -5. The distance between them is 4, so we're going to go directly halfway between for our vertex. So our vertex ends up being the point 4, -3. From here, this parabola has to open up. Your parabola always opens around the focus and away from the directrix. That seems to be an issue for some of us, where some of us are opening the wrong way. So because of that, my p-value has to be positive because this is a happy parabola. And the total distance between the vertex and the focus and the vertex and the directrix was 2. That was half of that 4. So the formula that you have to have memorized for focus and directrix is x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. I think that this question, focus and directrix, has shown up on every regions we have gone over so far, so you do want to make sure that you memorize this formula. Your h and k are the 4 and the -3. So we get x minus 4 squared, and we get a y plus 3, and p is the 2. So 4 times 2 is 8, and there is your answer.